it is the big story this Wednesday morning, the 29th day in July. I am Praise Soji, and we have a lot of issues to talk about this morning. Mr. Oza also joins me on the program. Good morning to you, Mr. Oza.
Very wonderful morning to you.
All right. So we begin with the attack in Kaduna State, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ordered the armed forces, the Nigeria Police Force, and relevant intelligence agencies to intensify operations aimed at tracking down those responsible for the deadly attack on Naridon village in Kamaru ward of Kauru local government area of Kaduna State. The directive was conveyed in a statement issued on Tuesday by the President's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga. And the President said, I have directed the armed forces and relevant intelligence agencies to intensify operations across the affected areas to track down the perpetrators swiftly and restore normalcy to the region, the President said. The President also reaffirmed his administration's commitment to strengthening the country's security architecture and dismantling criminal networks and threatening national peace and stability. The President's directive followed the attack on Naridon village in the early hours of Monday, which reportedly left about 30 residents dead, including women and children. Furthermore, the Kaduna state government has condemned the killing of several persons following an attack on Naridon village in Kamaru ward between Kaduna and Ganawuru in Riyom local government area in Plateau State. That is where the ugly incident occurred. Now, let's hold that on one hand. And the next story, the race to the 2027 general election has entered a critical phase, and one decision by the Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec, is already generating intense public debate, despite appeals from political parties, civil society organizations, youth groups, and thousands of prospective voters. Inec has made it clear that there will be no further extension of the continuous voter registration CVR exercise. The Commission insists it has already provided sufficient time for eligible Nigerians to register, transfer their voting locations, replace lost or damaged permanent voters card, and correct personal information. According to INEC, the electoral timetable must be protected to allow enough time for data cleaning, verification, voter registration, compilation, and other preparations before the 2027 election. But the decision has sparked mixed reactions because there are a lot of Nigerians who argue that the deadline must be respected to ensure credible elections, while others believe that millions of eligible citizens may now be shut out of the democratic process due to the time, due to so many logistical challenges and late awareness campaign. And this development, we know, raises important questions about electoral inclusion, voter participation, and the readiness of Nigeria's electoral system. Is INEC prioritizing administrative efficiency over citizens' voting rights, or is it simply enforcing a deadline that had already been clearly communicated? But then President Bola Tinubu yesterday told Nigerians when he was speaking with bishops that, look, there is a level playing ground for everyone in the race for 2027. So on one hand, we discuss insecurity issues, and on the other hand, INEC's registration for voters deadline has come and gone. Let's get into the matter this morning. Thank you very much once again, Mr. Koza, for joining.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so let's start from the issue of security. President Bola Tinubu has given an express order that they should hunt down the perpetrators of the crime or the evil, whatever action word is used to qualify give meaning to whatever happened in Kaduna State. What's your take on that?
It's quite unfortunate. I'm not surprised. That's always been the response of leaders over time. Now, I'm instructing the security agencies to take immediate action to get the perpetrators to book. How many perpetrators have been brought into book over the decades? We've always had that. That's an executive pronouncement. And I'm not seeing any implementable pronouncement from past leaders by the so-called security agencies. But be that as it may, it behoves of me to feel very sad with the situation that has consistently happened in Kaduna State, especially in the Christian minority, Southern Kaduna. We have the Hausa Fulani northern majority of Kaduna and the Christian minority. There have always been conflicts relating to issues of land, issues of relocation, issues of religious divide, and others. And it's something that has actually caused a lot of issues. And we will forget the riots, the Zango Kataf riots of 1992, and arising from the issues between Christians and Muslims for the College of Education and there in Kaduna. And I think I will be able to reference equally the riots of Kafansham, precisely. Zango Kataf riots of 87, the Kafansham riots of 87, Zango Kataf of 92. We have the post-election riots of 2011. And these are riots that precipitated out of no issues. The relocation of a market caused a riot. And the government has always sat down on it. They've always postulated that, yes, it can be handled. We had the Sharia riots as well of 2000. When they wanted to impose Sharia riots, Christians in Kaduna said, no, we are not an entirely Muslim state. And they escalated. And the government said security. Now, the fundamental issues about the situation in Kaduna is embedded in lack of leadership. Adequate leadership, proper leadership. Not when I'm talking of leadership, not just at the presidency or at the governorship level, at the local level, traditional leadership in churches and mosques, communicating. Now, the killings, it's unfortunate that most of these killings are emanating from within the system, and the people that are so much of the victims are the poor. And it becomes so sad because there's not been a political response. This is not a military response to it's a political response that is needed. And we have not had a political response to settle this imbroglio that has happened and been happening in Kaduna in the last 4 or 5 decades. They have to find a permanent political situation, bring the feuding sides to the table. And all this is embedded in religion. And these people that have killed, they cannot be resuscitated. They cannot be brought back to life. They cannot be alive again after being unalive. So I think Mr. President, it's not just about making pronouncement. I expect that he will use this opportunity to follow the pronouncement to the detail with all instrumentality of his office, and the culpability of people must be brought to bear in the justice system. They should be held accountable. And there should be we always seem to put a lot of political influence on issues related to constitutional rights and privileges. If you have done a crime, you must do the time. Whether you are politically powerful, whether you are a governor, whether you are an emir, whether you are a king, whatever, so long as you are culpable for a crime, whether directly or indirectly by proxy or otherwise, you should be held accountable. May the souls of the faithful departed rest. But this pronouncement doesn't go that way with me, because we've had a lot of pronouncements like this and justice has not been served.
I still recall that of Plateau State, where Mr. President said that he has given the directive for the installation of 5,000 CCTV cameras. We are still waiting for that until today. I don't know.
And you'll be shocked if you look deep. The 5,000 CCTV cameras have been long approved. The money has been released, but cameras have not been supplied, or nothing has been done about it. That is Nigeria for you. We thrive on political and rhetorics just to sell a propaganda to the highly gullible electorate that we have.
And that's a major problem. But we hope that this will eventually see the light of the day.
Mhm.
And not especially as we.
Mhm.
And you know, one interesting thing that really got me, laughing is that the president had a meeting with bishops yesterday, and they didn't raise this issue before the president.
The biggest problem we have in this country, religion, has become politics. You see, I'm sorry to say it, but I'm ashamed of our Christian leaders who have thrown their spiritual and cultural responsibility away. When I talk of spiritual and cultural responsibility, the Christians are not being the shepherds that we have as flocks. The shepherds that we have not stood their ground to protect their flocks in Christendom. They are more concerned about having political alignments to protect. Since they heard now that that the monies have been budgeted to fund churches and mosques, they are beginning to show patronage. You made a very important point. They went to see the prayer, and nobody made mention of it. Southern Kaduna is predominantly. Look at what has happened in Jos. Look at what has happened in Southern Kaduna over the years. And an injury to one is just an injury to all. But the political jobbers that call themselves clergymen, they call themselves religious leaders, have thrown caution to the wind. They want to show. None of them is bold enough to call Mr. President or any state governor when he or she is erring. They want to, or any member of National Assembly when he or she is erring. They want to be seen to all. They are all sycophants. I'm sorry to say that. I don't want to judge clergy, but a lot of them have not shown a spiritual responsibility in the discharge of their duty to their floor.
Let's go to the next topic. It's about voter registration. It has now come and gone. Of course, at a point, Inec extended the date, the timing for voter registration, but now it is over. Do you think Inec provided sufficient time for people to, get their PVCs?
For the very first time in my life, I want to agree with what Inec has done in all its entirety. Even if they shift the voters registration to 31st of December, you will still see the attitude of Nigerians are premised on time management. Is the biggest bane of our socio-economic growth. You see, people always assume, they will extend that. No worry, we still get 1 week. Even if you reach, the government will extend that. It doesn't work like that. I mean, the system, INEC, I give you thumbs up. I give them 100% thumbs up for this because it shows administrative responsibility. They've shifted it before. They've shifted it again. Let me tell you something. We have been doing voter registration since the end of the last election in 2023. I did revalidation early last year. In as much I still there's some gray areas because they gave me a temporary card. I've not collected the main card. I think maybe they said I should go and collect the same attitude I am exhibiting. They're going to collect the main card, but I've done my revalidation. It's the mentality of Nigerians. They always assume the system must wait for them. The system cannot wait for you. The system has been so structured that there's a timeline for referencing everything because INEC has to conduct elections. They have to upload the voter register into the system. They have to distribute the names into their different states, different local governments, different wards. Then they should sit and wait that one big man, one politician, one market woman, one businesswoman, one hairdresser, one this is doing business and is saying, I beg, at that convenient time, we're going to register because INEC has been so structured to be made a pawn in our electoral chess. But no, sometimes INEC needs to be firm. And for the very first time, this is one of the things I give them thumbs up for because it is the right thing to do. Nigerians have a lethargic mentality towards administrative processes relating to what is supposed to be. They always see everything as a right. We have this entitlement mentality, and we need to change that. The entitlement mentality is what is stagnating us with with what we are seeing today in this country in terms of corruption. Entitlement mentality has cost us our franchise, has cost us our mandate, has cost us our political liberation, has cost us accountability, has cost us so many things. So we need to change the narrative. Thumbs up to you, INEC.
Yeah, thumbs up. A lot of people will think that we need more time.
Nigeria.
Like I said on one of my platforms, where I was just saying that the biggest part of the biggest issues that we have in this country is distraction. I think distraction, in the sense that what we should be talking about is not what we are talking about. I think there is a need to now begin to hammer on the necessity of getting your voter's card. You can't be complaining
About
of
governance.
bad governance
And you don't have a voter's
and you don't
card.
have a voter's card. The fact that you don't have a voter's card means you are part of the bad governance.
Yeah.
If the best way to show your dissatisfaction, to show your displeasure about somebody, a political party, the policy that you say that is not, is not helping you as a person, is to go to the polls, right? And cast your vote. And how can you cast your vote? You can only cast your votes when you have your PVC. That is the best way to do it. So for those who are lamenting, calling on Inec to extend the voter registration, no. At a point they extended it before the extension time ran out. They extended it for a while and gave people time, to get them. I mean, I see no reason why people have to wait until the dead.
Yes, I was
You voted last in 2023 and you are waiting until the tail end to get your PVC. No. Just a few days ago, I think I was having a conversation with a couple of guys, and the first question I asked them is, do you have your PVC? And their response to me was surprising. These are people who are up to the age. They said,
More than
no,
the age.
even more than the age. I don't have my PVC. So at the end of the day, you now come
just
and
keep complaining.
complain about bad government when you are part of the bad government. Because government is not just those leading. The people, the electorate, they are also part of the government. They are the ones at the receiving end of the end of the candlestick. So whatever policy is put forward, it is your responsibility to say that I do not like, or this is not helping me. And how do you do it? Is by having your PVC. So unfortunately, we might maybe see, maybe another election year where a lot of people will not exercise their franchise, and it's just too unfortunate. It's so unfortunate. But let's go on to the next conversation this morning. The next conversation will take us to the Court of Appeal in Abuja yesterday, nullifying the judgment of the Federal High Court ordering the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to deregister the African Democratic Congress and 4 other political parties. Now, in a unanimous judgment delivered by a 3-member panel of justices led by Justice Abba Mohammed, the appellate court held that the June 15 judgment of the Federal High Court was a nullity, having been delivered without jurisdiction. The appellate court held that the trial court wrongly assumed jurisdiction and made the order on an incompetent suit filed by a non-juristic entity. It held that there was no valid suit that could have warranted the consequential order directing INEC to deregister the affected political parties. The appellate court further held that the trial court failed to properly evaluate the evidence before it, noting that proof showing the parties had won various elective seats in previous elections was ignored. It also held that the lower court acted in defiance of an order directing it to stay proceedings pending the determination of an interlocutory appeal. The appellate court consequentially held that the Federal High Court ought to have dismissed the substantive suit for want of jurisdiction and merit. So right now, the Court of Appeal has reversed the order, the registering ADC and the 4 other political parties that were, that the High Court ordered INEC to deregister. And we've seen the likes of Atiku Abubakar and David Mark coming out to say that this is another, score point to strengthen democracy in Nigeria. Mr. Koza, does this prove that the judiciary is still the hope of the common man in Nigeria?
The judiciary is the pawn of the elite. Let me tell you you see, I've always said judiciary is one of the biggest problems we have. I mean, both the judge that made the pronouncement in the lower court and the judges that made the pronouncement, they all went to law school. They're all members of the body of benchers. If I was advised further, the judge that made that pronouncement, knowing it lacks jurisdiction, the court lacks jurisdiction to enter into procedures and procedural justice for that case, should be sanctioned. Because we need to nip this inconsistency and giving the judiciary a bad name in the board. That judge should have been sanctioned so that judges should take a cue. I found that in Nigeria, many people in positions of authority today, elective positions, got there not through the ballot box. It's through the courts, manipulating of the judicial system, and the judges are being used. I have seen it's only in Nigeria you see 3 judgments for the same court case in the same day in 3 different geopolitical zones. If somebody will take an interlocutory injunction in Port Harcourt in the morning at about 9:30, 10 a.m. in the afternoon or late morning by about 11:45, 11, and the court in Kaduna will quash it. Before 3 o'clock, the end of working day, another court in Abuja will uphold it. What a mockery of the judiciary. It's a shame. Well, however, I think the appeal court has done the right thing. I mean, that was misplaced justice on the part of the lower court. And of course, it's a sign of a collaborative judicial decision, probably behind the courtroom, and the judge was just there as a figurehead to make the pronouncement. But I think the major thing that was missing there was that judge should have been signed to send the message to judges that this is not going to be business as usual for them to bring in the judicial profession into disrepute.
How come a justice would make such, a mistake?
It's not a mistake. It was an intentional thing. You see, judges have. I used to respect judges. I used to respect the law profession, but I began to, since the advent of, especially during the military era, I mean, courts were really full of noblemen. I mean, for you, judges are supposed to be known as noblemen. Those in the legal profession are nobles, senior clients, and that's what I recognize them as. But with the advent of democracy, they became proliferated with fifth columnist jurists who seek compromise and self-aggrandizement as an exit route to quick wealth. They begin to find themselves in situations where we have had misplaced judgment, where their judgments are being seen to be judgment of compromise, and people question the integrity of some judges to take judgment on certain cases. Judges are beginning to sell their birthrights. They are beginning to have a price tag for judgments. Judgments are beginning to be sold. So in that circumstance, it is not out of place to reason along that thought line. I mean, Nigeria is not a guinea pig industry where everybody wants to try out things. We need to be firm. We need to be serious, and accountability and probity must be taken more seriously.